celebrating 11 years of possibility. Pilot Flying J and Halloran Hilton Hill present Anything is Possible. Today's guest, Tammy Francis.
This is Anything is Possible. Welcome this week. My guest is Tammy Francis. She is the CEO and owner of Smoky Mountain Home Health and Hospice. But when I tried to put the CEO label on you, you took it off immediately.
Well, I'm a nurse. I'm an RN, and that's how it all started. So they did put that title on me for some reason, but...
Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you.
Folks, I had the opportunity to have dinner with Tammy and her husband, and it was the best time ever. It was phenomenal to hang out with you and your team and your staff up in Greenville, and it's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You keep saying, I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse, above all things. Now, let me give you some stats, folks. She has 5 different locations for your business. You've got over 160 employees. There are some part-timers as well, and you have won many awards. In fact, you were Best Nurse for 12 years in a row. But in talking to you that evening in Greenville, and even as we were talking before we came on the air today, you keep circling back around to just being a nurse. How did all this get started?
Just being a nurse. It's true. When I graduated nursing school, I just worked full-time in a hospital, and a friend of mine said, hey, would you like to do some home health on the side? Of course, you know, I was single, needed extra money, and I said sure. So I got involved with doing home health admissions. They needed an RN to do the admissions, so that's how I got started.
And that's where it all came from. Now,
yes.
When did you decide you wanted to, or maybe better yet, had to be a nurse? Because I believe that with great nurses, just like with great teachers, it's a calling.
Absolutely. I don't ever remember a time not being a nurse in my head and in my heart. The earliest memories I have as a child is nurse. I didn't play teacher, and I didn't play, maybe one day the neighbors would make me play teacher, but I just always went back to taking care of the frogs or the turtles or whatever bird or something like that I found. I was always taking care of something that had died, having funerals for them, or trying to pretend like that they were healed. So at your root, at your core, yes.
This is about taking care of people.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's where it all started for you.
Yes.
And so where'd you grow up?
Newport, Tennessee.
Newport.
Yes.
A lot of great people come out of Newport.
Oh, wonderful town.
What was it like growing up in Newport?
Well, it was a small circle, I guess you might say. It was a small town. It still is. We're about 30,000 people there in the county. My mother was, I'm the youngest of 4. My mother's from Georgia, so we don't really have any kinfolk there in Newport, but we've had a lot of people adopt us, so to speak. My father died when I was almost 5, so she was a widow with 4 children. And
wow.
So a single mother raised me, and a lot of help from the community. A lot of teachers and friends along the way have encouraged me. And of course, the Lord's had his hand on me all the time.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I said, you know, coming up here, it's hard to be a hero in your own hometown, of course, because people say, well, I remember when, you know, or I know what she did or whatever. So it is hard to just talk about how the Lord's kept his hand on me, even though I wasn't keeping my eyes on him.
But he's faithful.
He is, absolutely. But
so here's the most curious thing about your story to me, and as a story of possibility. You really are centered down on being a great nurse. As I said, you were Best Nurse 12 years in a row, and taking care of people is a core thing to you. But I don't understand, when I talk to you, I get this notion that you stumbled into this really incredible business enterprise. It's a multi-million-dollar business.
yes.
But it seems when I talk to you like, oh, I just was out nursing one day and look.
Well,
And that story can't be that short, that easy, or is it?
Well, you know, it's a weird story because it always sounds so like you're walking uphill barefooted both ways.
Right.
You've heard that story, you know. But that's kind of how it did start, because it wasn't about a future, it was about the present.
All right, so walk me through it then.
Well, I was 22 almost 23, so now everybody's going to know, everybody in the world's going to know my age. And I've been lying about that for 5 years. Sorry. Do not let my kids see this part. But just working a lot of different, worked the ER some, worked the hospital some, and when home health came along and got into my blood, I loved it. And an opportunity came that the company I was working for was not going to open an office in Newport. And so by that time I had 25 patients that I was running back and forth trying to take care of, so all my supplies were in the trunk of my car. So one of the physicians was telling a story about me, and he said that I started my business out of the trunk of my car. And
literally?
And well, kind of, because you didn't want to drive if you forgot something in nursing school, they said use your head or use your feet. So that meant you had to gather all your supplies before you went in the patient's room. So I still use that with my employees. Use your head or drive extra miles.
Wow.
So I just started making sure I had everything I needed in the trunk of my car. And we had these huge radios that when they would call you to tell you somebody was sick. It was funny if you were out in public somewhere, everybody heard it. HIPAA just, which it's just a new thing now. But back in the old days, everybody could hear what was going on. But it started that way, and every year it just seemed to be that we needed another employee. And, I only have an associate's degree level in nursing. So not having a degree in business or management of people, I just had to start with the patient, and that's where I started. I always started with the patient because all my employees were older than me. So I really couldn't arm wrestle them down about experience, but I always brought it back to the patient. And if there was an argument or a disagreement, we always said, what's the best thing for the patient? And so that's where it started, and it still is today. My managers will tell you today, last week's meeting was all about the bedside and working from there up, because without our patients, I wouldn't be here, they wouldn't be here.
Wow, Tammy Francis is my guest. We're just laying into her story. She's built quite a business. What does Newt Gingrich have to do with Tammy Francis? You'll find that out coming up in just a moment. This is Anything is Possible. We'll be back in just a second.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
I try to hire people. I try to make sure that they feel the spirit too, that they get the feeling of that they're doing something wonderful and great for somebody.
Welcome back to Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill, and this is Tammy Francis. She is definitely a possibility person. You're 22, 23 years old. The company you're working for isn't going to open an office in Newport. You've got 25 patients. There's a need. You don't know any better than to fill it, because you're not starting a business. You're making sure that these patients get taken care of.
That's right.
Is that the whole thing?
Yes.
So you start adding an employee and an employee and an employee, and now you've built it into 5 offices, and it's continuing to grow, but it's real patient-centric. How'd you learn about business then? Because it's great to be Miss Tammy with the smile and take care of the patients, but Miss Tammy's got to eat, pay the house note, all that stuff. You got to know about the business. So how'd you learn about that?
Well, I really don't know, because home health care and hospice really is a Medicare benefit of your retirement health insurance. And so in the beginning, there was not a hospice benefit, so to speak. You just took care of hospice patients in the home health. So Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee was the provider that you went through at the time when I first started in 1982. So I went to Chattanooga and said, you've got to show me what I'm supposed to be doing here with this billing. And so over many, many months of trying to see patients, trying to do billing, trying to do paperwork, eventually I did learn how to bill Medicare for services. But and that still is a
big challenge. Big
challenge, because it's ever changing. Because the Congress will make a law, but by the time, CMS, that's what it's called now, Centers for Medicare, by the time they're finished with it, it doesn't really look a lot at times like the bill did.
Like what you started with.
Yes.
There's something about you, though, that I don't think we've touched on yet, which is when you want to do something, you go figure out how to do it. Because you just said you just went down to Chattanooga and said, all right, I got to understand this.
Yes. Yes.
Where's that come from?
I don't know. I guess the good Lord just gave me that. I mean, it's a blessing.
Isn't that a blessing to be that way?
Well,
Not to see the obstacle, but to see the opportunity?
I've never really operated on fear. Fear of my competition or fear of who's coming to town. Headlines today showed, mergers happening and big companies, coming against mom and pop agencies like ours. I've just never had the time to operate on fear. I just have to operate on what's the needs of my community that I serve. And we serve 13 counties as our communities for hospice and 12 counties for home health. So we're pretty busy. We go all the way from the Tri-Cities to here in Knoxville, and I'm busy and meeting with the managers and still seeing some patients and taking care of family. I almost 20 years married to my husband, and we have 2 children, 17 and 13. So we're busy like any other family. But in the early years, I wasn't, tied to a family. So I was able to work a lot of long hours and do a lot of things. And I just had ambition about being the best nurse in the world. And that's still my, I still want to do that. I want to be the best nurse in the world.
You've got some really incredible fundamentals. One is being the best nurse that you possibly can be. And at the end of the day, it's about the patient.
Yes.
And if you keep those 2 fundamentals right, everything's right. I told you I would tell you how she's connected to Newt Gingrich, and it's this way. You actually received an award. It was Entrepreneur of the Year for Tennessee, and it was awarded to you by Newt Gingrich in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I just, it was kind of, I thought it was a hoax at first, when they first contact you and start talking to you and say, we would like to talk to you because you've been nominated, and so I guess peers and other people in Tennessee had to put my name out there. Home care has gone through a lot of changes, and I don't think there's that many in the state of Tennessee that's still the same owner.
Wow.
I think maybe I'm only one of 2 for the whole state of Tennessee. So I do think that had something to do with it. But he just wanted grassroots people that cared about the future and cared about today. We can talk about the future, but we still have to take care of today.
You have to take care of today.
Yes.
That's pretty incredible. I'm going to say a name, and then I want you to just, as soon as I say the name, I just want you to go. Jabbo.
Oh. You don't have enough time for me to talk about him. That's my love of my life. He and I are going to be married 20 years in August. He has been the hand that's helped me across the pond, so to speak. When you're afraid, step on this stone, it's okay. And when he came into my life, he was like, it's okay, because there's a lot of changes going on. A lot of 3,000 home health agencies and hospices closed. So in 2000, we came into the industry just came into a whole new world, and I was a little bit hesitant, and he was like, it's okay, I think you can make it, you will do here, and he was like, let's go forward, why don't you open an office in Marshtown, Tennessee? And now we're getting ready to open a new office in Tazewell, and by the time this is aired it may already be open, but it's just about serving the community. And there again, it comes from physicians, it comes from even state surveyors. They'll say, you need to open in this area or that area because they need the quality you can bring. And, I hope that what comes across today is it's not about me. It definitely is not about me. But the spirit that the Lord's given me, I try to hire people. I try to make sure that they feel the spirit too, that they get the feeling of that they're doing something wonderful and great for somebody. But Jabbo is just a person that I just can't describe.
He's a great guy.
He is.
Yeah, he's just one of those people, as soon as you meet him, you trust him. I wanted to hand him my wallet when I met him. He's just a great guy. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the next segment will be brought to you by the letter M. This is Anything is Possible. We'll be back.
Coming up.
Don't think about what's behind you. Let's think about what's in front of you, because that's where you have to go forward. And it's fun. Just hang on.
This is Tammy Francis, and you're watching Anything is Possible. Great stories about great people who prove with their lives that anything is possible. She is the owner of Smoky Mountain Home Health and Hospice. She is the CEO. She's just a nurse, though. Trust me, she is just a nurse. And that's according to her, not me. But thank you for being here. Oddly enough, the greatest leaders have a wonderful ability to keep the main thing the main thing. They understand the fundamentals of their business. If we don't do this, this, and this well, none of the rest of it works.
Right.
So for you to declare yourself to be a nurse, and especially in front of the people that you lead, because you have a lot of nurses that work for and with you, it tells them how important they are in the structure of the company. But then for you to also make that declaration about the importance of the patient, I think it's going to give you a critical advantage in the marketplace, because not once during this interview have you talked about or have we touched on money. Right?
Right.
You're not hurting.
No.
Right?
No, I'm not. No.
But you're one of those people that I've met. I really believe you when you say, A, it's not about me, and it's not about the money.
No.
Talk to me about that.
Well, I didn't grow up privileged by any means, and as my mother, had 4 children, I guess she was probably about 27, and widowed with 4 children. So I don't think that money. I never felt poor, but
Right.
I never felt privileged or anything. But it's never really been about the money. I'm very okay with whatever I've got. I can food. I give away food. I mean, somebody says you can't go to your house unless you give me something, but. I don't know how to explain that. The Lord has just really given me a peace about that. I'm very at home with, okay, whatever we make is okay. But I will tell you, I never dreamed that the Lord would bless me with a great husband like He has, and I never dreamed that the Lord would bless me with the income and the just everything that has happened to me. And I've been through a lot of hardships.
What's the toughest thing you've been through?
Well, there's too many. Just kidding.
He's like, Helen, where'd that question come from?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just saying that, that it's been hard, A lot of times it's been hard when I was single, and you had bills to meet, and sometimes you just had to put your salary back in the company and didn't take one. You have to work somewhere else to get some money. But also with after my husband and I got married, we have 2 children that we're raising, and we're not spring chickens, but we hope that we can hang in there. But
which is why I said this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by the letter M.
oh,
Madison, who is 17,
yes,
and Montana, who's 13, and these are your adopted daughters.
yes.
Madison, if you're watching, your mother is trying to follow your advice about how to handle this interview since you were her coach. But these girls mean the world to you, and they were adopted in family. Tell me about Madison and Montana.
Well, they're completely opposite, But I'll start with Madison. She's just really becoming a wonderful young lady and finding her way in leadership. She goes to Cornerstone Christian Academy in Morristown, and it's a classical Christian education. And so she has a smaller high school, and they're always arguing a point. And so she comes home, and I give her some pointers, and then she goes back and pretends like it's her ideal. So here I am using hers.
Right.
So she said, keep your hands in your lap, because she said you always want to talk with your hands, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna keep my hands in my lap. Montana, she is, sometimes we tease her and call her, she's like Miss Kravitz on the Bewitched. She knows everything.
She's in everything.
She sees everything. Did you see that? Did you see what they were doing? And we with the beach, it says, you're not supposed to work on the beach at night. She's like, I see people down there on the beach. So she's they've both got great personalities. They're sweet, wonderful girls, and they brought so much.
What made you take them in? And is that a continuation of your feeling of taking care of people?
Well, it's easy to mess your life up. And their mother, you know, just made some bad choices and messed her life up. And she's on that road to recovery and doing much better. But in the meantime, you know, you can't stop and wait. The world does keep turning.
Wow.
So we just had to catch on and just take those kids and love them and do the best we can. And we're just so thankful.
You know, one of the things I really am delighted about with you is this forward momentum that your life has. Like, so God put something in front of you, and instead of running away from it, you kind of gather it up and go forward. That's what possibility is all about. I mean, that's what you see that something is able to be better, and then you do what you have to do. You go through whatever you have to go through in order to make it so. Is that true?
Well, I like the way you describe that. That's why you're sitting where you are. Well, that's a great, you know, I mean, that's the summary of it, yes. I guess, you know, a survivor doesn't think about the past. I can't think about the past. And I don't want to, you know, you just can't think about the past. There's many opportunities I missed, many opportunities I think the Lord could have used me sooner. But like I said, I didn't have my eyes on him all the time. And so I missed a lot of opportunities, I think, to serve him in a better way. But you just can't look back. And if I could encourage anybody, you know, don't think about what's behind you. Let's think about what's in front of you. Because that's where you have to go forward. And, you know, it's fun. Just hang on.
You have to go forward.
Yes.
It's fun. Just hang on.
Just hang on.
All right, so let me ask you one other question before you get away. I see here that you teach Sunday school to first and second graders.
Yes.
What kind of Sunday school teacher are you?
Well, I guess I'm a crazy one, but we have a lot of fun there. The kids really enjoy it, and I enjoy it. And we have 7 years. So I guess it's probably time for me to move to another class, but we enjoy it. You
sing to them?
We do. We have Onward Christian Soldiers, and It's Me, O Lord, Standing in the Need of Prayer. They love, little first and second graders love to perform.
They love it, don't they?
Oh, yes. Even
would you like to sing right now?
No, sir. No.
Well, I won't ask you to sing today.
No, please don't.
But I would like to ask you one final question. Okay. Do you believe that anything is possible?
Absolutely. I'm a living example that if you'll show up, the Lord will use you. Wow. And my prayer today was that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart would be pleasing to Him today. So I hope that has come across today.
You did it.
Thank you for having me.
You did it, Tammy Francis. You did it. God did it. Thank you for being here
today.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.